Welcome back, everybody, to Pro Football Enterprises. I am Ben Parker. That's Austin Freed. Austin, it is a privilege to have you back, man. We've missed you last week. So, tonight, Michael Trigg, tight end from Baylor. I'll run through his numbers here you see on the left of the screen, and then we'll get Austin's opinion first, and then we'll dive into my notes and run it on out from there. So, Michael Trigg, 6'4", 240. 2024 numbers, 30 catches, almost 400 receiving yards per catch, 13.2, and three touchdowns. And had a pretty big jump in 2025 for 50 catches, almost 700 receiving yards, 13.9 yards per catch, actually went up just a little bit, and then six touchdowns. He was able to double on that. Austin, go ahead and take it away, man. Michael Trigg.
Yeah, this is he should be on the Eagles for how like long his arms are. That would fit. He is a freak in terms of hand and arm length, which is a really good thing, but it that doesn't make a great player. I think I saw in high school he was kind of a two-way star playing DE, and seeing how long his arms are, I'm like, man, that would have been very desirable for a lot of teams. But a tight end with a big catch radius is nice. Now, if he was like 6'5" or 6'6" to like really kind of complete that, that would be something else. But coming in about 6'3" and a half at the combine, I think, or 6'3" and three quarters, something like that. So pretty average in terms of height, if not actually a little below average, and then pretty average weight. I think he was, yeah, right around the 240, 250 mark. So maybe even on the lighter side, but this really long wingspan. I wish we would have seen him do the agility stuff at the combine. I never expected him to be a blazing guy in the 40 or anything like that, but I did think he was, or on film, he is pretty agile and shifty. That definitely stood out to me in his tape. So I wish he would have done that, and I'm sure he'll have a pro day where he does that stuff. I hope, unless there's some sort of injury that I don't know about. Just some notes I have, just general pluses I have on him. Some really just athletic, acrobatic catches. So that's a big plus when you have a tight end who can make those sort of uh, like wide receiver type catches, not just the ones that kind of hit him in the chest. I thought he adjusted well and just has great body control in general on sort of off-target throws. Throws are above him specifically. So I thought that was really well. He did that really well. Um, Pretty explosive running like seam routes, and as a vertical attacking tight end, I think he might be one of the better ones I've looked at. Probably not the best of this class because there are or is one guy in particular who just blows me out of the water, and everybody else. But for your typical tight end, he is legitimately above average in terms of a downfield threat from the tight end position. I think he attacks man coverage fairly well. He has pretty sharp cuts, like I was talking about with his agility, and accelerates out of breaks really well. 28 missed tackles forced over the last two seasons is really good. So when he gets the ball in his hands in the short area, he can make the first guy miss and turn short catches into long gains. And pretty powerful hands along with long arms. It doesn't show up in his blocking too much, but he occasionally would use that to block, particularly like do that kind of down blocks or on a wide receiver screen. If he's going out in stock blocking, he could really overwhelm a cornerback of pretty much any size. My main concern on him is just his age, and he has a history of off-field issues. And those two things, along with just a more general average profile athletically, aside from the long wingspan and big hands, is just not ideal. It really makes it tough for me to get invested in a guy who has his profile as a player and then this age and off-field history sort of it just doesn't really match well for me. I needed to see more on the tape to really push me past the mental hurdle I have on those things.
I think you're not alone in that. I'm actually going to touch on that at the end of my notes, not the age thing so much, but the off-field issues, because I don't usually touch on it too much, but I felt like I needed to here. So we'll get back to you in just a second and find out where exactly you're interested in drafting Michael Trigg. Here we go. Baylor did a great job moving him around in 2025. You could find him at tight end. You could find him at slot. You could find him wide. You could find him halfback. You could find him in motion. He was hard to find at times. I mean, really, they moved him around a lot in 2025. I enjoyed watching this film, but the interview would be important to me. I don't generally care too much about interviews changing how I feel about players, but I would want to talk to him. I'll talk to more about that at the end of the notes here. Speed, athleticism, not fast enough to work third level or run from man covers. You mentioned the speed thing. He's not that fast. He's not going to make a living working third level. He's not going to run away from man coverage, but plenty of speed and athleticism to work second level. He can rip zones, absolutely rip through zones, and then dominate the boundaries. I really feel like in all three of those categories he can do very well. Size, physicality, in spades. He's tall enough. He's very long. He's very physical. It's a constant part of his game. He really enjoys getting physical. Now he doesn't seem to uh, seek out physicality just for its own sake, but he really seems to understand how being physical works in the game of football and when to use it. I thought he did a great job with that. Versus man is rarely going to create significant separation. He can create some. You mentioned him being good in and out of breaks, which he is. But it's just not his game to create tons of separation. Does not have a significant speed advantage, but wins versus man by strength, by size, and by jumping. So, even when he is somewhat covered, you can still get him the football. He high points, he out positions, he rips the ball. So, being physical and seeming to know how to use his body and having that long wingspan, I really like it. I think that helps a lot versus man, even though he clearly is not going to just beat man coverage all the time. You still can get him the ball even when they're trying to lock down on him. Yak, yards after the catch, is good versus zone. Really sweeps through zones after the catch, man. I really like that. Minimal yak yardage versus man, but fights for yards and is not easy to bring down. You mentioned the 28 tackles in two broken tackles in 2 seasons. Not easy to bring down. You're not going to trip him up too much. You really have to work to bring him down, and that's always adding to the yards, right? Wherever he catches the ball, you typically figure he's going to add to that. So whether it's zone or man, I thought the yak was there, but more in zone. Working against zone, he was open all the time against zone. I don't know why he didn't get the ball more. He should have. All the tape I watched, the games I watched, he was open a lot versus zone, and he could have gotten the ball a whole lot more. He's good at running through the different zone levels. So he's good at moving through the different zones, but he's also good at settling into holes. I feel like he can do both, and not all guys can, but he has a feel for settling into the holes. I saw him open underneath the linebackers a lot, but also I saw him open behind the linebackers a lot. So he's working both levels very well, level one and two. Really good versus zone. I especially like him there. Hands, you mentioned it, very strong. Got strong hands. Makes a lot of tough catches. Has some very impressive one-armed and one-handed catches on tape. So you like that. Got the strength there. Also had 7 drops in 2025. So, it's not the end of the world, but it is a part of his game. And I don't necessarily know that that's going to go away. That's a 12.3% drop rate on targets. So, again, it's not a killer for me, but just so we know that we're not hiding anything there, he does have the drops there. Blocking. I love the blocking. It's disciplined. The technique is there. He sustains the blocks. He's fast and athletic enough to get to the smaller, quicker defensive backs. Not all guys can do that. He can. He can get to blocking out there on the defensive backs. So that was tremendous. He'll block on the line. He'll block in the hole. You mentioned him running through and blocking in the hole for running backs. That's tremendous. And he'll block all the way downfield. You won't see too many guys do that. But on a play where he knows a wide receiver is going to get kind of a comeback route at say 10 yards depth, he will be at 15 yards depth blocking for that guy. And I was really impressed by his ability to do that. I saw him blocking just all over the place. Matter of fact, he blocked so well in 2025. They were using that as part of the offense, both in the run game and in the stagger passing game, if you will, where they're getting those um, the other receiver to drop back, him to push ahead and block. I really was proud of him when it came to the blocking. Let's talk about the off-field issues real quick because I don't usually care too much. I think it's an issue. It's something to talk about here. Lots of issues at Ole Miss in 23. I mean, goodness gracious. Lots of issues, and that's the big reason why he's not there anymore. It wasn't necessarily that other people were offering him more money, although they may have. This is a talented guy years ago, and boy, everything from all-field stuff to practice stuff to just not looking like he was paying attention during games. I mean, it was all through. 24 at Baylor, I didn't see a huge difference, but 25 Baylor looks like a different guy. Now, there was a 24 issue at Baylor where him and a linebacker, whose name I've completely forgot, got in trouble and I think missed a game, got suspended. I don't know what that was about. There was a 25 issue with the athletic director, who is, give me a second here, Mac Rhodes, who has since been fired. Mac Rhodes, the athletic director at Baylor, had his own entire set of issues that have fairly well been documented at this point. I'm inclined to feel that Michael Trigg has moved past a lot of his issues. I don't blame him for the 25 athletic director part, but still, when you have the 23 stuff and the 24 incident, you have to wonder, is this a part of his makeup? Will it pop up again in the future? You know, NFL teams are going to be thinking about that. And that's one reason I would love to interview him and get a feel for what he's thinking about, what he was in 23 versus what he is now. How he phrases it, what he says, that would matter a lot to me. I came out with a solid second round grade on him. I'm just not looking at him in the first round. I would take him, I don't need him top 40 or 50, but I would take him somewhere in the middle of the second round on back to the end of the second round. So that's what I've got on Michael Trigg. Austin, back to you.
You're a bit higher than I am. I have a late third round grade on him. If he was a 21-year-old with a clean slate, I think I would probably be in like a mid to late second round. Uh, maybe even more than that. But with his current situation, what we've got and what we're working with, I just can't get too excited about Michael Trigg.
All right. So, Shane, welcome in, man. We've missed you for a couple of weeks, but appreciate you hopping in. We're doing Michael Trigg. Shane, I know you didn't get to hear everything we just said, but I will caption it for you and then let you finish off the thoughts here on Michael Trigg. I came in as a middle second round guy on Michael Trigg, solid middle of the second round. Austin's basically in at middle to late third round on Michael Trigg. We've already done all our talking. So, Shane, final thoughts here on Trigg, and we'll kick out.
Well, I'm sure you guys already covered the basics, but I'll give the quick sweep again. Uh, Very athletic, huge catch radius, works best in zone concepts, has a very interesting size blend in this group. Not as fast as I think he would have loved to be at the combine. I think that hurts him a lot. He's a total walkout tight end. He's not going to be an inline guy for most teams. Best red zone and zone concept, like I said. Weaknesses, separation, maturity. He's had a couple of schools he's been to. It took him until, this last year to where he really exploded on the scene. Um, the big questions for me, though, effort, number one. You never know what player you're going to get from down to down. And the same thing for his blocking ability. Uh, he'll go full bore to get a knockout block on a screen or a run play that's set up to him, and then you'll see a draw where basically he just has to catch his guy and he'll do nothing, and the play gets stopped for -6. Um, I think with the way that other guys tested and the other talent that's around, I think the effort that he gave at the combine is really going to hurt him. Both you guys are kind of hovering, uh, third. I think, like I said, I think this hurt him a lot. I think he has some interesting intangibles, uh, but he put himself way on the back burner between a couple of questionable things during his playing career and then how he showed up this weekend.
Shane, you're right. We did cover a lot of that, but the effort thing during games, we didn't quite hit on to the fullest. So appreciate you bringing that in as well. Real quick, Shane, where would you actually start thinking about drafting him? Obviously, I'm mid second. Austin's more mid to late third. So where would you have him at?
I kind of sit between the two of you. I think it's going to be more likely that he's in the Austin range. Um, I think the questions of effort and maturity made it so he's not going to be, a lot of times we talk about where if a teams go on a run where all the eligible tight ends start getting picked up, I think there's enough red flags for people. This is definitely the time where those teams are going to do their background and try to see some stuff. But I mean, this is a guy, like I said, a couple of schools. Ends up in a fight with an athletic director this year that led to the athletic director being let go. Hard to tell what, real level he's involved in on that, or if it was more the athletic director's fault on the stories that are coming out. But NFL teams are going to do their due diligence. I think he's a guy that also slides too, because I think there's wide receivers that you can get the same thing out of, and you're not drafting a guy that's a tight end and trying to teach him to only be an outside guy. There's a reason why they played him as kind of like a stretch tight end, uh, and I think you can find better. Uh, so I think, like Austin says, I think late third, um, deep second if there's a run on it, but I think he really hurt himself with the end of the year and the combine itself.
All right, Shane and Austin, really appreciate the work. Shane and Austin are coming in late thirds on Michael Trigg. I'm still middle second. Those of you in the audience, if you're seeing something different that we didn't even mention tonight, plug it into the comments and make it part of the discussion on Michael Trigg. Everybody, thank you for watching. This is Pro Football Enterprises. We have lots of prospects going up both here and on the Box Score Network. This tends to be where we're posting the offensive prospects. The defensive guys, for the most part, you can find over on Box Score Network. So have a great one. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.